Hello guys, so we are back, and in this video tutorial we are going to talk about arrays. So what are arrays in C? Actually, array is a collection of data which can store a fixed number of elements of the same type. So there are two main things about arrays. The first one is that the number of elements is fixed, and the second one is that these elements need to be the same type elements. Okay, so pretty simple. So once you define the dimension of the array, so once you define the number of elements, after that you cannot change it. So you need to be careful how much elements will you define at the moment, because once you define it, that's it. Okay, so basically when we are talking on some simple language, it's a collection of variables, and these variables are same type. Okay, so inside of the memory, elements are actually placed one after the other, and the lowest address corresponds to the first element, and the highest address, of course, to the last element. When we are defining one array, there are different ways to do it. So at the first place, we always put the type of the array, so it can be int, char, double. Then the next thing is array's name, and here we have dimension. So there's another way to do it, like this. So when we type this, then after this, inside of these curly brackets, we put the list of values for elements. So here we have a list of values. And the next thing is this one. So we don't have the dimension, but we have a list of values here. And actually the number of these values that we assigned to each element corresponds to the dimension. So the number of these values, and they're often, for example, if we are making, I don't know, int type array, and then we have here some numbers. So basically it's like this. So the number of these elements here will actually determine the dimension. So dimension of this array is 3 because it has 3 elements. Okay, so right now I will define one array like this, int array, and this array will have 5 elements. So inside of the memory, this is how it looks. So this is the memory which is reserved for this array. So this is the lowest address, and this is the highest address. And because this array is type int, that means that each element is type int. And because int has 4 bytes, the size of int is 4, then for every element we have 4 bytes inside of the memory. So this is actually how it works inside of the memory. So for array of 0, that's the first element. This is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, and this is the fifth. So the index of the element goes actually from 0, starts from 0 and not from 1. So that is something that you need to be careful about. Right now, I'm going to show you some general rules about defining one array. So right here, if we just use this is actually memory representation, and this is logical representation. The difference is that in memory representation is just like it is in the memory, and the logical representation is actually how we think about how the picture that we make in our heads when we are thinking about array, literally like that. So that is a logical representation. So when we define int array, and it has the dimension is 5, the thing we have done is that we reserved 5 places for 5 elements of this array inside of the memory. And here at the start, we actually don't know the values of each element. So basically here are some random numbers, random values from the past, which were before making this program, they were on this location. So if we try to, I don't know, printf %d of, let's say that we want to see what is on the first element, so we will type in array from 0 like this, and if we run this, we will actually get some result. So that is actually a random value that was here on this memory location, on this memory address, placed before this program. So it's actually by accident like that. Okay, so if we define an array like this, int array, so we set the dimension for 3, and then inside of the memory we have reserved 3 places for 3 elements which are type int, and like this, this is the list of values for these elements. So array from 0 will be 1, 5, 7. So when we do it like this, when this list of values is not the number of the elements here, of these values here, when it's not equal to this, then actually the rest of the numbers which are not here, the rest of the elements will be initialized with 0, as you can see. So 1, 2, and then zeros. So if we want to avoid these random numbers which are here, when we define an array like this, we can use this, and when these curly brackets are empty, it will actually initialize all of these elements with 0. Okay, so that's in case we want to avoid these random numbers which are from before by accident on these memory locations. And here, int array 1 through 3. So as I've said it before, the number of these elements right here, of these values, will determine the dimension of this array. So that's why, because we have 3 values here, this array will have dimension 3, and it will look like this. And this is something special. So when we define it like this, so the first element will be 1, of course, and here it says that the element with the index 3 will have the value of 5. And some of you may have thought that this is the third element, and it is the third element, but the index of this one is 2, and the index of fourth element is 3. That is because the first element actually has index 0. And all the other values, all the other elements will be initialized with zeros. Okay, so it's pretty simple. And when we want to access one element of the array, we do it like this, array from 0. So basically, we can do it both ways. I will set right now, I don't know, array from 0 is 5. And here, underneath, I will do something else just to show you some genuine rules. I'll have \n here, and I will do this. 0 array is 9. So basically, when we want to access some element of an array, we can do it like this. So array name, and then here goes index. But we can do it like this too. So if we run it now, as you can see, here array of 0 is 5, and here array of 0 is 9. We've actually changed it. And one more important thing is that in C, we need to be really careful when we are working with the elements of array, because C doesn't have boundary control. And boundary control will actually, if some programming language has it, it will stop you from accessing the element of array which doesn't belong to that array. So, for example, this array has 5 elements, and the last element is array from 4, as you can see here. And actually, if I try to do this in C, array from 5, and try to set it to, I don't know, 10, the compiler won't report any errors, because C doesn't have boundary controls. So we need to be careful, because we don't know where inside of our computer will this memory location be reserved for this array. And we can change actually something that is after this, and we don't know what we are changing. And it's not really safe to change random things inside of the memory of your computer. That's why I need to be really careful. You probably won't do some major damage, but who knows? You never know. So if you try to do this, then you will change something which is actually here. And that can be a problem for your program. So you need to be careful about these boundaries. So that will be pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we are going to talk again about arrays. So that's going to be the second part of our talk about arrays. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel too, and put the notification bell on as well to be in touch with our latest videos because we upload daily. Thank you for watching and see you next time.